Deep within the realms of Native American folklore and the mysteries of the American Southwest lies a chilling and enigmatic legend, the legend of the Skinwalker. These tales speak of shape-shifting creatures with the power to assume the forms of animals or even humans, often with malevolent intent. In the heart of the untamed wilderness, where deserts, forests, and mountains converge, these eerie stories have been whispered around campfires for generations. They're born of ancient traditions, beliefs, and a deep respect for the forces of nature. As we delve into these terrifying tales, prepare to enter a world where the boundary between the natural and supernatural blurs, where the howl of the wind, the rustle of leaves, and the voices in the night take on an unsettling meaning. These stories remind us that even in the modern age, the wilderness still holds secrets, and the legends of the Skinwalker continue to haunt those who dare to explore its depths. Join us as we embark on a journey into the chilling and mysterious world of Skinwalker stories, where the line between reality and the supernatural is razor thin, and where the wilderness itself may be the ultimate source of fear. It was a crisp autumn evening when four friends decided to go camping in the deep woods of Arizona. The forest was known for its eerie ambiance and the stories that circulated about skinwalkers, malevolent creatures from Native American legends. As they set up camp near a secluded clearing, the friends laughed and roasted marshmallows around the crackling campfire. The moon cast an eerie glow on the tall trees, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Despite the unsettling stories they had heard, they felt safe in their numbers. As night fell and the fire burned lower, one of the campers, Sarah, heard something rustling in the bushes nearby. She brushed it off as a woodland critter, but a sense of unease washed over her. The others didn't notice her discomfort and continued sharing ghost stories. Hours passed and the campfire was reduced to embers. Sarah's unease hadn't abated, and she suggested they turn in for the night. The others agreed and retreated to their tents. Lying in her tent, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. She heard soft footsteps and labored breathing outside her tent. Paralyzed with fear, she listened intently. The footsteps grew closer, and the breathing became more pronounced. Suddenly, a voice whispered her name from just outside the tent. "Sarah," it hissed. The voice was distorted and unnatural, sending shivers down her spine. Terrified, she grabbed her phone and texted her friends in the nearby tents, urging them to stay quiet. As she did, she saw a shadowy figure moving near her tent. It looked like a person, but its movements were unnatural, almost animalistic. The figure continued to whisper her name, now in a hauntingly familiar voice. It mimicked the voices of her friends and family. Panic set in, and Sarah realized she was dealing with something sinister, a skinwalker. Desperate to escape, she unzipped her tent and bolted toward her friends, waking them up in a frenzy. They stumbled out of their tents, disoriented and alarmed by her panic. Sarah tried to explain what she had experienced, but as they gathered around the dying campfire, they heard a bone-chilling howl that sounded like a mixture of human and animal cries coming from the surrounding woods. Terrified and convinced that they were being hunted by a skinwalker, the group hastily packed. The woods that stretched beyond the small, isolated town of Blackwood were known for their beauty during the day and their eerie silence at night. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the ancient trees, a group of friends gathered around a campfire deep in the heart of the forest. They had heard the tales, the warnings passed down through generations about the malevolent beings that roamed these woods. Skinwalkers, they were called, shapeshifters who could mimic the appearance and voices of others, luring unsuspecting victims deeper into the forest. As the friends shared stories and laughter by the flickering firelight, they couldn't shake a feeling of unease that settled upon them. The night grew colder, and the distant hoots of owls added to the eerie ambiance. Still, they tried to convince themselves it was just their imagination. As the hours passed, the group decided it was time to turn in for the night. They retreated to their tents, each feeling a sense of vulnerability as the forest closed in around them. Inside her tent, Emily tossed and turned, her thoughts plagued by the stories of skinwalkers. She listened intently to the night sounds, hoping to hear nothing out of the ordinary. But then, She heard it, a faint scratching sound right outside her tent. Emily held her breath, straining to hear more. The scratching continued, growing louder and more persistent. Panic well. The night was heavy with an oppressive darkness as I trudged through the dense, moonless woods of the Navajo Nation in Arizona. My heart raced, not just from the strain of my heavy backpack, but from the unsettling feeling that I was being watched, hunted. I had embarked on this solo hiking trip in search of solitude and adventure, but what I found was a chilling encounter with the unknown, a skinwalker, a creature born of legends that whispered through the desert winds. My footsteps crunched on the dry leaves beneath my boots, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. The desert at night was eerie enough, with its howling coyotes and rustling tumbleweeds, but this was different. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, as if the very earth itself held its breath. I set up camp near a small, ancient canyon, my tent providing a false sense of security against the vast, empty landscape that stretched out before me. The campfire crackled, casting flickering shadows that danced on the canyon walls. As I settled in, I tried to convince myself that my unease was merely a result of my overactive imagination. But then, from the inky depths of the canyon, I heard it. An unearthly, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. It was a sound like no animal I had ever heard. I gripped the handle of my flashlight, my knuckles white with fear, and scanned the canyon's edge. There, perched on a rocky outcrop, was a figure that seemed to defy reality. It looked like a coyote, but its eyes shone with an eerie, human-like intelligence. It was a skinwalker, and it was watching me with a predatory gaze. My heart pounded in my chest as I fumbled for my phone to send a desperate message to a friend, telling them of my encounter. But when I glanced up again, the creature was gone, as if it had never been there. I sat in terrified silence, listening to the night around me. The distant howling of coyotes, the rustling of unseen creatures, and the whispered voices of the wind. Hours passed, and I knew I had to leave, to escape this cursed place. As I packed up my camp, I could still feel its presence, lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. I hiked through the night, my footsteps quick and desperate, haunted by the memory of those unnatural eyes and that otherworldly growl. I finally emerged from the wilderness at dawn, the first rays of sunlight casting a warm, reassuring glow on the desert floor. But the terror of that night still lingers in the corners of my mind, a reminder that there are forces in the world that defy explanation, and that the legends of the Skinwalker are not to be taken lightly.